Let's talk about this Roe v. Wade, which is you can't turn on the news without seeing this. By the way, it's pretty ugly and it's something that's been going on for a while. It was a concern when Supreme Court justices were chosen. They kind of knew this day was coming. It's officially here. So Roe v. Wade uproar. McConnell calls for prosecution of Supreme Court leaker. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called for the Department of Justice to investigate and pursue criminal charges against those responsible for leaking draft Supreme Court decision that would overturn Roe v. Wade. McConnell went on to rip his Democratic opponents for politicizing the court and repeatedly using leaks in an attempt to force changes. McConnell's comments after Politico published a leaked draft copy of Justice Samuel Alito's decision in an upcoming ruling on a Mississippi abortion law. The ruling, if adopted by 4 other justices, would overturn Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion nationwide in 1973. Supreme Court Chief Justice directs Marshall to investigate leak, calls that egregious breach of trust. Anyways, this thing's going all over the place. So what are your thoughts about what's going on here with this story?
Well, I think it's a travesty. I think Roe v. Wade was established law for 50 years, in my opinion, and maybe, on paper, I know it was never codified as, a federal law. I don't think for a second that the problem here is the leaker. It's very telling that, McConnell's going after the leaker rather than perhaps having a conversation about the 3 justices who said in their hearing that they would not overturn this ruling. Those are 3 acts of perjury. You could go after just as much as this leaker. I am for a woman's right to choose because I am not a woman, so I cannot possibly fathom what it's like. And I know there are arguments to be made that that shouldn't be a part of the conversation. But who benefits? Who benefits from this? You have a base of Republicans and their voter base who are Christian, and that's a very firm belief. My brother's very anti-abortion. He's a staunch Catholic, was a Republican lawmaker for a long time, but also a never-Trumper. So there's all kinds of shades there. But it strikes me that this is a cudgel that is an overwhelming distraction. I don't think it's going to make it all the way. It is distracting us from bigger issues, which we seem to be ignoring at our peril, like climate change, in my opinion. And once again, it is just I don't know. It's so hard to talk about because it's. Go ahead, Adam.
It's so there's weird. Clearly no correct answer. There's
if you don't want an abortion, don't have one.
What was interesting? We talked about this when we were in the old office, and you said, well, when should you have an abortion? I said, yeah, well, you should have up until X amount of months is what I said. You go, oh, really? You think that long? 5 months, whatever it was. I said, let me actually go around the office, and I asked every woman in the office, and then I started asking men, okay, when should an abortion be okay? 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks, to get all these different answers. Yeah. And I remember just getting different answers from everybody. I think we can all be in agreement that there's the first, second, third trimester. You should not be able to have an abortion during the 3rd trimester. That's essentially what everyone was comfortable saying.
Sure.
During the first trimester, people felt very comfortable saying, well, in the first 10 weeks, 12 weeks, yes, that seems very reasonable. The gray area is basically that 20-week mark, right? Where the baby is 4 to 5 months old. Is it a life? Is it not a life? That's the deeper question.
But even there are cases in 3rd trimester where an abortion is a medical necessity, or you have to choose between the life of the baby and the life of the mother. Imagine having to make that decision. I mean, there's this post going around Instagram right now that's really cool. I'm not pro murdering babies. I'm pro Becky, who found out at her 20-week anatomy scan that the infant she had been so excited to bring into this world had developed without life-sustaining organs. I'm pro Susan, who was sexually assaulted on her way home from work, only to come to the horrific realization that her assailant planted his seed in her when she got a positive pregnancy test result a month later. I'm pro Teresa, who hemorrhaged due to a placental abruption, causing her parents, spouse, and children to have to make the impossible decision of whether to save her or her unborn child. I'm pro-Kathy. It goes on and on and on in all these cases where this ruling is barbaric.
The thing that as three men talking about whether women should have an abortion, I think is almost ironic. However, I also think it's a very ironic that, what percentage of Congress people are men? 95%, and they're the ones making these decisions of what a woman should do with her body.
And they'll have
it's
plenty
quite
of access,
rich.
by the way, if their daughters need.
But
need
the whole
abortion
thing,
they'll have access.
Look, shocker alert. We're not going to solve this issue on this podcast today, but. You're on one camp during COVID. Don't tell me what to do with my body. I put whatever I want with my body.
Right.
Don't tell me what to do. It's like, well, that's sort of the abortion, the pro-choice mentality is don't tell me what to do with my body. Well, you're murdering someone. It's not. It's just. It's such a hard thing to answer that it's a constant conversation. It's going to constantly be with the basically way the courts are situated right now. With conservative justices, it's going to be a situation. This brings us back to the conversation we were having for weeks and weeks and weeks: is Biden going to pack the court? You never hear anything about that anymore. But this is going to be a constant dialogue.
It's minority rule, is what it is. 68% of the country is in favor of access to abortion care. It's like with the guns. 90% of people want stricter gun laws. The representatives are not honoring the will of the people.
Okay, so real quick, a couple points here. One, the rape and incest case of abortion is less than 1/10 of a percentage point. Okay, so now I don't disagree. You guys you're debating on Roe, right? So what happens if Roe gets overturned? It's federally illegal, but it takes it back to the states, right? The states get to decide. So you asked who benefits from this. My stance would be that democracy benefits for this because everybody broadly agrees. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that Roe was wrongly decided, that it's a bad legal precedent. It's a bad case. It's possibly the worst case in the history of the court. The way it was decided. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything about abortion. And that's what the court is there to do, is to interpret the laws, right? So what happens if Roe gets overturned? Then the people can put it up for a vote. They can vote on it in Congress, right? You can vote to make it federally legal. Why is it that we have 9 justices in these cloaks and robes reining in their decision for the rest of the country, right? You asked who wins. Democracy wins. If Roe gets overturned, the people should stand up and vote.
I don't think democracy's winning, though, is the thing. I think it's the opposite. I think we're, again, minority rule. I get your point, and it's a good one. And I'd be interested in reading that Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote because I think it's a little deeper than that. Yeah, if you could pull that up, it'd be great. Yes, you're right. If we can decide then if Congress honored the will of the people, we would have a democratic debate about the subject.
No, and I think that's absolutely the point here, is that it's not up to these 9 justices to have passed it in the first place. I think, and this speaks to a broader point of the warping of the power that the court has taken over, that they just get to decide off whim what is and isn't federal law. Right. So it's like I think the best thing that we can do is have a debate on this case and let the people decide. And as you say, let Congress agree and listen to the will of the people, because we need to get back to some form of that and give the people a voice again.
But their stance that it's because it was never mentioned in the Constitution doesn't mean they can rule on it. There's a lot of things that we have laws on the books for that are not mentioned in the Constitution. Transportation being one of them. You know what I'm saying? And that we have all kinds of federal regulations regarding transportation. So that's just a weird take to have, as a Supreme Court justice. Well, it's not in there, so we have no say over it. It's just weird. I don't know.
What you got, Pat?
Yeah, man. We've been.
I don't know. And by the way, here's what I'll tell you. When it comes down to guns, right? Okay, I lived in California, I lived in Texas, and I lived in Florida. Okay, in California, I went to buy a gun, and I went and bought a shotgun and a rifle. Maybe I bought a semi. I don't know what I bought over there, but I bought a few things. Did a background check. Took me 30 days to be able to pick up my stuff. I don't know what the timeline was, but it was a minute. I couldn't get it that day. Could have been a week, could have been 30 days. But I didn't leave with the stuff that I bought that day. Fine. I went to Texas. In Texas, I went to a store and I bought an M4. I think I bought 2 of them with the magazine, with all the stuff. Walked out 5 minutes later. Took it to my car. By the way, when you did my interview, I opened up the safe. You saw my M16s. You're like, this guy.
I've shot a gun, but I've never been around one that big before.
So I opened up. I'm like, all right, so here's what I did. Okay. So you come over here. You know what I like? I like the fact that a person, if you don't want to have people get guns early, move to California or run for office in your city and state and go help change the laws. Okay? Go help in that state, get people behind you, get a strong argument, either get behind somebody or you go do it, right? If you think a guy's going to be good against DeSantis and you don't want DeSantis to be reelected because you think Florida's going in the wrong direction, either find somebody that's going to beat DeSantis or go move to California or New York. It's your choice by state, right, to do that. With this argument here as well, the same happens because, those stories you read, I mean, I've read both sides of the story where, hey, look at all these great innovators that their parents didn't get an abortion. They almost thought about getting an abortion. How about that? How about this person that, was going to be the president and parents at one point thought about getting an abortion? And you read those stories like, what does the world look like without those people? Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine a world without these guys. So how many stories are there that the mom and the dad at one point thought about getting an abortion and that person ended up becoming great? So who's right on left and the right? Oh my God, but this person got raped, incest. Okay. It's a very, so the exception to the rule, which is very small percentage, they throw those arguments up and it gets people riled up, right? So then you go to the other side and you say, okay, your body, your choice. Yeah. How come you didn't say that 2 years ago? How come you didn't say that the last 2 years, which is kind of what you were talking about? Why the hypocrisy? So you're then noticing the level of hypocrisy on both sides that comes out with arguments like this and the lack of consistency. And you see leaks in arguments. You only want your body, your choice when it favors you, but you don't want your body, your choice when it doesn't favor you because you want everybody to take the vaccine. What happened to your body, your choice? It's my body. I don't want to get the vaccine. You better get the vaccine. You don't care about my health. Dude, it's my body. I'm going to do whatever I want to do my body. Why are you forcing me to do it? And then the part that I have a challenge with in regards to abortion is I don't want to pay for it. If you went and had sex, unprotected sex, nobody told you to not use a condom. You chose to. You say, I feel better when I have unprotected sex. No problem. Mm-hmm. It's your choice. I don't care. I'm just not paying your abortion. You pay for it. You want to get an abortion? You go ahead and pay for it. I'm not going to pay for it. I didn't have sex that night. I didn't feel good when you had sex. You had sex? I didn't feel good. You had sex. It felt good for you. I didn't get any of that joy. Why am I getting the pain? So let me get this straight. I didn't get that great feeling of sex you get for the last however long of it. And I'm supposed to do the bad, to pay the price for the bad part that you don't want to pay, the $500, whatever the numbers. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through it. Everybody in their families has a private abortion story. I have some. I'm sure you have some, and you have some. You see some folks here who brag about how many abortions they've had. I also don't agree with that. This lady right here has got a shirt on saying, I've had 21 abortions.
Well, that's abhorrent.
A comedian got up, and I don't know who this comedian was about a year and a half ago, the girl with the curly hair, and said, let me tell you how many abortions I've had. This is how many abortions I've had. Matter of fact, I'm going to go get more abortions when pa.
It's not.
So that stuff is stupidity. By the way, that's also the exception. That's not the majority. Right. So I'm not also putting them as, these guys are at fault. No, I'm a reasonable enough of a person. But I think to leave it to the states, if guns are left to states, if this is left to state, the way it happened, if you go look at the history of Roe v. Wade, is, two Supreme Court justices at the time were either retiring, Tyler, or they were stepping away. And this young attorney comes in, like really, really young, and just somehow got this thing through. And it would have never happened in this case ever. But this was a very interesting, unique situation that they capitalized. And at the end of the day, in regards to the information being leaked, oh my God, I can't believe the information's leaked and all that stuff. And one side is saying, who cares about the person that leaked the information? Republicans are more targeting this than protecting women's rights. I'm sorry. When somebody leaked information to you on the other side about Hillary, you were pissed off to say, why would you leak? This is irresponsible. So then goes more hypocrisy in the situation here. At the end of the day, if it's 68%, let's find out if it's 68%. If it really is 68%, maybe we're going to find out it ain't 68%. Maybe we're going to find out those polls are full of shit. Maybe we're going to find out more people are for, look, unless if it's rape or incest or this, I'm sorry, I just don't support it. We don't know. Let them make that decision for themselves. And, I have my own position on this. It's where I stand with this, but it's different for everybody else. So not Whoopi, Joy comes out and Joy says, women, we should go on a sex strike. That's the bad news for you, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We should go on a sex strike, okay? Don't give it up. No, you can give it up. Just use a damn condom when you give it up. Why not?
Oh, she said that because of the abortion?
Yeah.
Well, condoms break it. Look, I think
I have bad news for Joy Behar.
What's
Nobody's going to be upset if she goes on a sex strike. Nobody.
That's a good point.
The question is it healthcare or is it not healthcare? And is it a society's responsibility to cover from their tax burden healthcare in general, right? And you can make that argument. That's an argument to be had, and why we need better representatives.
Well, this goes back to your initial point
those
that it's not a black and white situation. There's so
nothing
many gray areas. Once you go here and you peel the onion, well, you know what? It's only in this case. Well, it's a rape. It's an incest. Well, it's the life of the mother, and then this story, and then well, actually, it's been is it 6 weeks? Is it 12 weeks? It's just such a complicated situation that it takes such grace to walk around, and then obviously if you say the wrong thing you're going to get canceled. Next thing you know, Joy Behar's doing a sex strike on you, and you don't get anything from Joy.
Catastrophic. I'm sure
tough.
Most single men in Hollywood are devastated right now because of her going on a sex strike. This is war on women, gays, people of color. You know what they're saying? If you let them do this, what happens next when they don't let you have interracial marriages? I'm like, oh my God, now you're getting over dramatic on interracial marriages. Who's going to get there and say, we're not going to do interracial marriages? But again,
considering there's an interracial marriage on the Supreme Court, at the moment,
but listen. At the end of the day, okay, what's Obama's famous words after his first term? What did he say? He says, "Elections have what?
Consequences."
There
That's
you
right.
go, buddy.
That's right.
Hey, Trump may have. You can call him whatever you want, but if you're a Republican, he got you a 6-3 advantage. And that's the biggest insurance policy that's going to last for 10, 20, 30 years.
It is rich of McConnell, though, to call the politicization of the Supreme Court when the reason there's a 6-3 is he politicized the F out of the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't think anybody disputes that. McConnell is an interesting cat himself, by the way. So
interesting's a good.
Him and Schumer are probably part of the same camp to me. Him, Schumer, Pelosi, they're part of the same camp.
I understand that.
Just another real quick daily dose of irony. The left wants to fight to the death for Planned Parenthood, right? And the largest proportion of abortions in the country are by black women, right? Who was Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood? She was a well-known eugenicist who wanted to prevent the birth of mentally challenged people and blacks in the country. I just think it's ironic.
I've heard that argument. I don't think that's entirely accurate, but I've heard that argument before, and I think that's
Tyler gets his information from certain sources.
No, but nothing he said isn't necessarily true. But I don't think it's the entire truth. Again, we tend to, as you know, especially today when politics has become religion, glom on to one part of the argument and hold on to that when it's like, yeah, but also this. You know what I mean? Is Putin evil? Well, not to his motherland, he's not, right? Mm-hmm. So. What's the answer? We don't have it here at the PBD podcast.
But this was great discourse, folks. I'm curious where you stand. Comment below. I'd love to actually read your commentary, see what you stand with this.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.